Now let's look at dodging and burning. And you can dodge right and burn right on pixels if you want to. So I could dodge and burn right on the texture layer if I wanted to. But I like to make my layers separate so that I can redo stuff or undo it or go back to it at any time. So I make separate layers for my dodging and burning. And what I do is I create a layer and then I blend it into the texture layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to go up here to create the layer, layer, new layer. And we're going to call this one dodge. So this is to lighten up areas on the image. And then we want the mode to be here. We're going to blend it as a soft light. So if we do soft light and then we fill this with a soft light neutral color, 50% gray, we're not going to see this on the image, but it's going to allow us to blend that color in such a way where the blending is unnoticeable and it looks like we're blending right on the pixels. So this is a technique that I learned, and I think it works really well, and it's non-destructive because it's on a separate layer. So let's click OK here, and we can see if we turn that layer on and off, we don't see anything. It doesn't affect anything at all. And that's partly because it's 50% gray, partly because it's a soft light blending. And actually, if I put this blend mode to normal, it's gray. Different blend modes have different effects. You can see multiply has that effect there. Overlay has this effect. Overlay might brighten it up a little bit. No, it's pretty much the same as soft light. And then soft light is going to blend that gray, or we're not going to see that gray until we start getting whiter or darker on either side of the 50% gray. So to start out with, what we're going to do is we're going to get the dodge tool over here, and here's the dodge tool. And this tool came from the darkroom, where when you printed using an enlarger, you created tools that allowed you to dodge the light or hide the light in certain areas, and the light would not then fall on the paper that you were exposing, causing the areas to be lightened, and you'd have to move it around, and so it would blend without leaving a mark. And the tool works similar here in Photoshop. So there's a couple areas that I'd like to lighten up here, and I want to start with like this areas around their eyes here and this area down here, not on the chin. I want to probably darken that to accentuate, on the jawbone, but on the chin here it's a little dark, maybe some of these other areas here, but definitely around the eyes over here, and we'll see what happens when we do that. So I want to choose mid-tone for range, and my exposure is going to be 12%, and I want to protect the tones. So this just protects the color from changing, so it just affects the lightness and darkness values. So now if I want here, I'm going to get a smaller brush here, and I like to look at this with the whole window here, because it shows me the view seeing the whole image instead of being so focused in, and sometimes you miss things that way when you're using this type of tool. So I'm just going to stroke along here and paint this area in a little bit to try to lighten it up a little bit. And hopefully you can see here it's getting lighter here in these areas where her eyes were a little blue, a little dark. Okay, so I'll turn this on and off and you can see the difference here. So I want you to also notice, you can see here this white in the dodge layer as well. And you might not see this until you do it yourself. You might not see it in the movie, but it's there, trust me. So I lightened that up a little. I'm going to lighten this area up around her chin just to blend it a little bit here. And if I wanted to, I could lighten these areas up here, but I kind of like the shadow there. I could lighten up along here, or over here as well, depending on what you want to do. I think these shadows areas here give her face some character, and I don't want it to be completely flat, so I don't want to lighten up too much. The other thing I could try to do too, if I wanted to, is lighten up her hair. So I could go along here and make her hair a little lighter if I wanted to. Or if I didn't like that when I was through, I could actually go and darken it up a little bit. So we'll lighten here just for the fun of it. And it just looks like we're giving her some highlights here in her hair. Now again, let's look at before and after. Okay. Another area I like to lighten, and for this area I do like to zoom in, is the eyes. So the whites of her eyes always can use a little brightening, and especially when, again, there's lots of red veins, or she's been out too late at night. But whitening, it helps. Some people have yellow whites of their eyes; they're very yellow, and so this really brings out their eyes a lot more, and especially when it's a little darker because of the light. So making this a little smaller, I can get in a little tighter here, but I want it to be big enough to where it will blend. I could do the irises of her eyes too, and that might brighten up a little bit, but again, we can see before and after here. And we'll brighten up here as well. Now, there's always that fine line of when you start making it look fake, so you got to be careful of that, cognizant of that. But I think that really brightens up her eyes a lot. And then the other thing that I usually do is do some whitening on the teeth. Now you can see here when we zoom into her teeth kind of got yellow in here. And so this might not even get rid of the yellow, and I might have to do a little more with that later, but I'm just going to see if the Dodge tool will work for that for right now. Again, I want to get the brush the right size and see if we can whiten up her teeth some. Now the other thing that we can do with that yellow maybe is try desaturating it with another tool. Or we could try using a greater amount of brightening here, of whitening. So right now I got an exposure of 12%. Maybe let's jack it up to 60 and see if that makes a difference here. It's not as subtle, but I'm just trying to get rid of that yellow in between her teeth here. She did not floss her teeth. So let's see the difference here. So that helps a lot. Okay. And again, if I need to get rid of the yellow, what I might try doing is, there's a tool here. Oops. Where is it? The sponge tool. And if I desaturate with the sponge tool, I can take out color and make it black and white. Sometimes it just makes it gray though, so you got to be careful with that. But in this case, it might take out some of the yellow. And actually, I think I'm going to have to be on the texture layer to do that. Yep, that's working really well. That's taking that yellow right out. Look at that. So now her teeth got some nice whitening there. Okay, so we got that. Her teeth look great. And the difference, again, before and after. Now, another thing I like to start doing when I start getting all these layers in here now is create a copy of the background. I'm just going to drag it down to the new layer icon. Then I'm going to put it on top of everything. What this allows me to do is see before and after. So this is what we started with. This is where we're at now. And then it gives me a point from which to go from there. So how much more do I think I need to do? I'm almost thinking that I need to get rid of that line right there. And again, I could go back to the texture to get rid of it. I could try the spot healing brush or the patch tool. Let's see if the spot healing brush will work with it. Okay. So I'm pretty much removing all character from her face, which is what you see in the fashion magazines. There's not a line on those women's face. So that's the texture, that's dodge. Now let's make another layer for burning. So again, layer, new layer, and we're going to call this one burn. And again, the mode is soft light, and we're going to fill it with a neutral gray color. And again, you might not need this here, but let's say we wanted to darken her eyes, darken her lips a little bit, maybe accentuate this line a little bit. We're going to use this tool. And so you know how to use the tool. So this is the burn tool here. And pretty much I think we want to do the same thing here. Start out with 12%. And the reason why 12, it's better to put on soft, like when you're painting with a spray can. It's better to put on lots of light coated layers than to put on a single heavy one. So it's much better to apply it that way. So if we wanted to darken up her eyebrows, so I'm darkening up her eyebrows here without really darkening up the skin there. You can see that there. I can darken these ones here. And then her eyelashes as well. So let's zoom into her eyes and see if we can make these eyelashes darker. Need to make the brush really, really small here. And then we can darken up the eyelashes. We can also clone in more eyelashes if we needed to. Now I guess I could show you how to do that. If we really wanted to clone in more eyelashes, we could. But let's darken this first. Let's do this first, and then I'll show you how I would go about cloning in some more. So again, what we're just doing here is applying this to this burn layer. So if we don't want to use them, if we want to get rid of them later, we can. But this is darkening them up. It's kind of like applying makeup here without the sticky gooey stuff. So look at the difference that makes. It really brings them out. And if we wanted to, we could clone using the clone stamp tool. So here's the clone stamp tool. And if we wanted to clone, say, this eyelash here and add some more over here, what I want to do with that, I'm going to make my brush a little bigger, is I need to sample that area. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and it's Option on the Mac, and I click the point where I want to sample from. And then I just, oops, I'm on the wrong layer. I need to be on the texture layer. Let's sample it again. And then it's going to copy it from over there. It copied it from up there. So if I have this aligned on, it's going to maintain the distance from where I first cloned and then where I click. So if I want to copy this, I'm going to have to select it again. There's the target, and then go up here. And then I can add more down here if I want to get darker ones down here. So it's sampling what's next to it here. If I want to keep sampling from this one single hair here, I would remove aligned. And then let's say we want to sample from this one hair here. I will sample that, and now no matter where I go, it's just going to sample that one hair. So I don't know if that looks better or not. It's actually probably looking a little more fake. But let's see when I zoom out. So it's giving her a little more down in here. Doesn't look too bad, does it? and it's making her eyelashes a lot darker. I didn't darken these over here, so I could do those as well. So we're giving instant makeup here. I gotta get back on my burn layer, and we'll darken these up. And if we wanted to, we could clone in more. The other thing that I could darken up is the pupil. Make the pupil darker. We could make the irises darker as well. The pupil was a little gray, so we can really make it black. And we can darken our eyes too. Okay, before and after. Before and after. So we helped her eyes a lot. I think we helped her eyes really stand out, lightening and darkening. Now again, if I want to get some areas down over here where I want to darken up a little, maybe accentuate the line of her chin a little more, I can darken that up. Over here. And that's probably good. I think I like that. So that's dodging and burning.